Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to UroPatient. We meet every Saturday at 10:30 a.m. Central Time. Welcome to our second episode. Glad to have everybody on board. If you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook Live, glad to have you on the show. If you're on YouTube, be sure to hit that subscribe button for us. Also, if you're watching us live and you want to ask a question, feel free to put a comment or question into the comment box. Always glad to be able to utilize that. If this is your first time joining us, be sure to check out our UroPatient website, uropatient.com. Best place to go to learn more about the show, what's coming up in the show, and also best place to get any of our free downloads that are available. A lot of good things to be able to see here as downloads. We have all sorts of material that's going to be building up a big library. And last week we covered the 5H questions, and those are available for download. How it was done, how much will it hurt, how long does it take, how long to recover, and how well does it work? Those are the questions we're going to answer every week. Really nice handout to bring into your surgeon's office and ask all those questions before you have anything done. This week, we're going to talk about catheters. Scary question or scary topic for some people, but we're going to help make this a lot less scary. I'll be glad to talk about catheters, and let's go into that right now. So how does a catheter work? You may be wondering, you see this catheter hanging out of you and you just have no idea what's going on in the inside. Is this some crazy new invention? Well, it's been around for a long time. This picture shows this is the Nile, and these are some Egyptians back in the BC times picking some of those reeds, because reeds are hollow tubes and they could be used to relieve obstruction by catheterizing. Now, our catheters are much more comfortable to place now, but in a pinch, if you're in retention, that does help out. Excuse me. What you might not know is Benjamin Franklin, a great inventor, also invented a catheter because his brother had a bladder stone which kept blocking him off. And so he came up with this thing using silver wire that was crudely made, but it was a hollow tube with silver wire. It was bendable, easy to place, and he was able to unobstruct his brother with that. Now, with catheters, you notice they have this cap on the end, and it has a color to it. You might be wondering, I wonder what that color's for. Well, that color indicates the size of it, and it's called the French size, and it has to do with diameter, how wide it is. So the larger the number, the fatter the tube, and the bigger the opening, which is what's important for us, because sometimes you want to have it drain better. Now, most catheters that we place for an adult is between 14 French to about 20 French. That's kind of a usual size. What you're seeing right there with the orange cap is a 16 French catheter. The larger ones are used, like I said, if you need a procedure that requires more drainage. Smaller ones typically are used for pediatric cases. So let's go over and take a quick peek here. I'm going to switch over cameras to what a catheter looks and show you a little bit about how it works. So here's our catheter, and it's pretty simple. It's got a couple of holes here for drainage. That's what allows the urine to drain out of it. Now, of course, it's placed by your doctor or your nurse under sterile technique into your bladder. Now, right here is a balloon. The balloon is what's keeping it from falling out. A lot of patients wonder, why is this not going to fall out? Well, once it's placed, then this port, there's two ports. One that is connected to either a leg bag or a drainage bedside bag, and this one is filled with water. Now I'm using air because it's less messy for me, and you can see that's how the balloon works. Once it's filled, it's able to hold that into the bladder so that it doesn't fall out. So that's why your catheter doesn't fall out. It's secured by the balloon. Now, depending on how much fluid they put inside here is how big it can be. So that's just a smaller balloon, but it can be even larger if they're worried about it falling out for some reason. All right, let's switch back over here. And that's a little bit better of a picture for you to see of how it sits inside the bladder with the balloon holding it in. So that's what keeps it from falling out. Now you might say, well, we've got our big questions about how is it done. Well, as I kind of mentioned, the doctor or the nurse places it while you're awake, and it's easy enough to place. The next question that we always like to cover is, how much will it hurt? So really, if on a scale of 1 to 10, I would put it somewhere around a 2, maybe a 3. It shouldn't be terribly uncomfortable to have it placed. There are some options if you're really concerned or worried that they can actually give you a what's known as like a local anesthetic, and it's done like this. So this is a procedure where it's a jelly that can be instilled ahead of time that has a numbing agent in it. That numbing agent will numb down the urethra. It's kind of like if you ever went to the dentist and they rub that stuff on your gums, it works the same way. That's actually me doing the demonstration for this company. That's a model that I'm using, not a real patient. And just showing how it's instilled. I always tell patients it feels like you're urinating in reverse. So that really can take the pain level down to a 2. So if you're really worried about pain, you may ask your whoever's placing it if they can use a little topical anesthetic, but it's not absolutely necessary. So our next question, how long does it take? Is this something that's going to take a long time to place? Well, no. I mean, most catheters can be placed in probably 2 minutes or less. By the time I get the bag and everything fastened down, it may take a little bit more time, but it's generally going to be pretty quick. Recovery, while the catheter's in, it is going to be a little irritating. There's no question about it. Now, I've had to wear one myself after surgery, so I can attest to it that you'll know it's there, but it should be something that you'll get used to it. You kind of don't realize it's there. Now, sometimes if you're having a lot of discomfort, like almost like a Charlie horse feeling in your bladder, it could be what's called a bladder spasm. Let your doctor know, because there is medication that we can give you to help to reduce that. But for the most part, it's going to be some discomfort, but really shouldn't be something that's like, terrible, intolerable pain. Most important thing is that it's draining. So you want to check it. If for some reason the bag is empty 4 hours later, then there could be something wrong. So it could be discomfort from a blockage. And then how well does it work? Well, I mean, they work flawlessly unless they get blocked. So they're really good, simple way to control this. Now, I was talking a little bit about you need to make sure that it's always flowing. So you want to maintain an unobstructed urine flow. The bag should be lower. So if you're in bed, typically the hospital's going to make sure that the bag is lowered, like you see here in that picture, so that it flows. It has to flow by gravity. You don't want it up higher, so you don't want to like have it up on your belly and then it's not able to flow easily. The bags have a one-way valve built into them, so you don't have to worry about urine backing up from the bag inside of you. It won't happen. It's this design of the bag, so that's not a big concern. As you can kind of see in that picture, there's a little securement device. I'm going to talk about that. I think that's probably one of the best things you can do, is make sure that the bag is secured to your leg. Even if you've got a bedside bag or a leg bag, and I was showing on a leg bag, I'm going to go back to that one shortly, just to kind of review that a little bit with you. They don't really need to be cleaned out at all, or, best to leave everything connected. These are these anchoring devices. They can be purchased from online. There's all sorts of sources to find these, but they work really well. The one right next to me here is a stat lock. So that's the stat lock right there. And this has a little click device to hold it. You put the adhesive on your leg, and boy, I'll tell you, it says remove with alcohol. Trust me, you better get an alcohol pad to get it off, because it really sticks. But it's nice because you can take the catheter out and then re-snap it. The other one over on the leg there is a leg strap, which is just a band that goes around the leg. It's nice for securing the catheter. And the bottom one is another type of device that works like the stat lock. Any of those are great. I kind of like this one myself. It's Durapore tape. 3M makes it. It's available. You can go to your local pharmacy and get that, and just secure it with some tape on the leg. I don't like to tape to the actual catheter itself. So if you're going to secure it, make sure you secure the tape on the tubing of the bag. So most bags have what we call extension tubing if it's a leg bag, or they have this long tube like you see here in the picture. So you always want to make sure that you're attaching it, the tape to that, not on the catheter, because otherwise it can sometimes get a little sticky. But if you have it secured so it can't pull constantly against the bladder, you're going to find that it's much more comfortable to wear. Now, the other thing that's important is you do need to keep the point where the catheter enters the urethra. So whether it's a male penis or the female, that area right where it enters is called the meatus, and that can get very irritated, because what happens is the body's reaction to the catheter is going to be to secrete some mucus. That mucus will travel up the catheter. It gets out to the tip and starts to get dried out by the air and kind of forms this crusty stuff. And that crust then is going to be, almost like sandpaper to your urethra. So you don't want that. So you want to keep it clean. I recommend at least once a day, maybe twice a day, getting some warm water and just wiping it down. This kind of shows. You can get a cotton ball, they show here, or washcloth, anything that's clean, soapy water, that type of thing is perfect. Just clean off that tip right where it enters, as you see right there. That'll keep it a lot more comfortable, trust me. Now, don't be afraid, you can't. Sometimes the doc will give you the option of removing your own catheter. Well, why would you ever remove your own catheter? Well, we do some procedures in the office, like Resume, where we put a catheter in for a few days just to kind of let everything kind of cool down. And so one of the things that we do is tell patients, hey, you can take this out yourself and save you a trip into the office. Or sometimes they want to do something called a voiding trial, where you take the catheter out early in the morning and come into the office and we test to see if you're able to urinate. Again, you can come to the office and have it done, or do it at home yourself. Now I'm going to go over that. Now make sure that you clarify with your doctor that it's okay for you to take it out. But I'm going to show you some real simple ways to do that. We're going to go back over to our picture here. So here we have our catheters. I mentioned this is a leg bag, so you can see how that would attach there to your body. This is where it attaches to the catheter, like that. Now, I want to go over how do you remove this? So sometimes we'll send patients home with a syringe, like you see here, and you can just simply, I just want to make sure you can see that, push that into there like that, so that it relieves the air. So the air just came out of the balloon. So let me just kind of show you that again. Make sure you can see that, how that air just came out of the balloon. And then it's a nice gentle tug. It should come right out. I always say, if it doesn't come right out, you need to go back in and see your doctor, because this thing, I tell patients, if you're afraid, just stand up and cough. It'll fall out. That's how easy it comes out. Now, another option that I kind of like, again, because sometimes this valve, this one-way valve, can be a little tricky for patients to figure out how to, as a nurse, I'm playing with syringes all the time. So I'm pretty used to how this works to disengage it. But this is a sure way to get the air to come out. If you get blunt tipped scissors, that means they don't have a point on them, because you don't want to cut anything. And you cut right behind the cap here, like this. I want to make sure you'll be able to see that when I cut that. Well, it's easier to do when you're not trying to show the balloon, but I think we'll get it. So you just cut that piece off, and you can see that deflates the balloon. You'll see water come squirting out of there. Once you do that, it'll come off nice and easily. Whoops, there we go. Coming back from my other camera here. Sorry about that. So that's again, don't be afraid, you can. It's pretty easy to take out your own catheter. We do have some patient care things on our website, on our UroPatient podcast website at UroPatient.com. This is the female catheter care suggestions. So that's a good one to take and look at. There's one for male catheters. And then finally, I have this nice one for how to take your own catheter out, going through how to do that again, step by step, making it all nice and easy for you. That's the best part of it. So that's about it. That's a wrap for catheters. They're pretty simple to take care of, but sometimes, it's all you see is what's hanging out of you, and you wonder what's going on inside. Now you know. So hopefully you enjoyed the show. And again, glad to be a part of your information. I do want to put a plug in. What we're going to talk about next week is your diet making your bladder crazy? So this is people that have an overactive bladder. Their bladder's making you go to the bathroom all the time. One of the things could be, for some patients, different types of food that you eat. So you never know. It's worth checking out. See if maybe your diet is affecting your bladder. We're going to go over some of the foods that can do that. Now, there's other causes, so we'll talk about that too. But again, nice having you with us today. Hope you'll see us and find us as valuable every week. Send a comment if you like the show. And again, check out our Facebook user group, and you can put information in there too. Glad to take any questions on that. Otherwise, we'll see you next week on the UroPatient podcast.